G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Monday the 26th of November 2018 and the time here is 09:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well folks, plenty going on. So much in fact that the world seems to have gone to shit in a handbasket. But let me show you the headlines today. You can't believe some of this stuff. Ex-Trump advisor Papadopoulos ordered to prison. Russia fires on Ukrainian Navy ships, seizes 3 vessels. Well, that's an active war. US agents shoot tear gas at migrants attempting to breach Mexican border. But that's not the biggest one. This is the one down here that I want to get to. Where is it? It's official. Labor will run Victoria for another 4 years. Here's your guide to what it's promised to do. Absolutely stuff all. Now going down. This is big. Easy part over for May as she reaches Brexit agreement with EU. Well, she can do what she wants, but at the end of the day, the UK Parliament's not going to pass it anyway. And if you remember, last week I said to you that they will keep Spain, excuse me, Spain and Northern Ireland in, or they're going to keep Northern Ireland. Then Spain kicked up at the last minute, and now Gibraltar is also part of the EU. And I said to you last week that that's what they were going to do, and they actually did it. So now you have 2 entry points into the UK as a Eurozone. And the whole thing was supposed to be anti-Euro. And the government's, the amazing thing about this is this woman has pressed through with this, and the UK government, her own colleagues in Parliament have said, we're not going to pass it. So it's literally going to fall on its ass. Then what's going to happen is that the government is going to, tear itself apart in turmoil. Then what's going to happen is people are going to say, we can't keep going like this, we need to have another vote. That's how sad this is all getting. There will be another referendum in the UK as regards to the euro. You see, because England holds all the money, regardless of whether they're in the euro monetarily or not. And the euro needs London banking in the euro, even though they're not in it anyway, which is just bizarre. So watch this space, because in 6 months' time they are going to have another referendum. They'll rush it through. It'll be so rushed you won't even believe it. So just watch this space. Here's something I want you to, you blokes out there are going to get absolutely furious about this. This article here, out of all these other things that I saw, you've got to read this. Are men's movements a new form of terrorism? Now, I've said before, and I've openly stated this, that for too long, one of the reasons that all this is going tits up for politicians, etc., is because they ignored one demographic mainly. And not only that, shoved us aside and just went, well, you're no use to us. And that is the white male voter. For at least 40 years now, at least 30 years, since the 70s, say the 80s, when everything changed in the 80s, they demographically shunned us, made us feel like shit, told us we weren't any good at anything, took away all our jobs, made us feel that we were all rapists, women beaters, drunks, just universally no good for society, etc., etc. And we believed that shit for a few years. There's blokes out there that still believe that shit. And people like me got to the point where we just said, this is bullshit. I am a white male. Listen to me. I'm sick of no one listening to me. Now, for you women out there, that doesn't mean that I don't listen to what women have to say. I do. But what I'm saying to you, and what a lot of women, politicians, and everyone's not understanding is, you're not listening to my argument. And the bite back for all the lefties out there is actually staggering, because they're actually going, whoa, hang on a minute. These guys are actually starting to bite back and make sense. And we have a point of view, and we are going to damn well make sure you hear us. Because you have a whole generation now, and I've watched this from the outside. Have a look at the fit between the 30-year-olds to the 15-year-olds now, of the men. They are so lost in society, they haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing. And I'm being serious there. There is a whole demographic there that now has mental health issues. If you don't believe me, read the statistics. White, young males between the ages of 30, I think it's 35 to 15, are killing themselves in droves. Now, the left makes you want to believe that it's because of transgender issues and, homophobic issues and, this and that and, racial issues, etc. It's not. The fact is, the white males don't see any vision for themselves in society for the future, which is really bad because they're the majority. Now, listen to what I just said. That's really bad because we are the majority. We are actually the majority, not the minority. And we're starting to realise that as well, folks. We are the majority. And the ironic thing here is, if you took any notice of the Victorian election at all, and I can guarantee you that if you actually follow this up in a couple of weeks' time, you'll find out that the Labor Party won because of one reason and one reason only. Conservative, not democratic, white conservative people like myself just couldn't be bothered going to vote because there's no one worth voting for. This is the truth. They just couldn't be bothered to go and vote for a bunch of numpties. The blue wearing centre, I don't even know what we would call them, who once again are not listening to what we have to say. And it's ironic that after the election, the Liberal Party it was within the first hour of losing that they were blaming the alt-right in the Conservative Party for the big loss. No, the fact is that you didn't actually bring that demographic into your mode of thinking. You actually shunned them once again. If you had a bloke out there who was saying, I'm standing up for white people's jobs, the majority, I'm standing up for majority, sort of like what Trump did, then they would have literally steamrolled into the parliament. but they didn't. And a majority of people like myself, even though I'm not Victorian, I'm in Queensland, just, why would we go and vote? The other thing is, look at all the micro parties who won. Massive. Make up nearly 20 seats, if I'm correct. 20 parties, micro parties, won. What's that tell you? The most ever. It tells you that people aren't interested in politicians. They want people who are going to do something for them. That's a clear fact. People want somebody that's going to do something for them. And I just don't understand why politicians in Australia, whether it's, you know, Liberal, Labor, they're not getting this point. Mind you, they don't want you to know that they know this point, by the way, so they're trying to skirt around it. They just think that they can just willy-nilly keep going as this two-party system, duopoly, and everything's going to be kosher. Well, it's not, because you have a whole demographic of society, white males, who just are now becoming militant because they're just sick of not being listened to. And you do realise that we are becoming militant in our the ways of the future. And I see great pains ahead for all parties and for Australia, because eventually we'll get to the stage where we will just say enough is enough, and we will have to take action to take back this country from a bunch of roving nutbags and bring some normality back to society. Because what's going on now is not normal, folks. Not by any standards. And I'm saying that as someone who's standing outside looking in, sort of thing, going, what are these people on about? Why is my life being ruled by a minority at every single occasion? Why is my life dictated by parliaments between two parties who make up their own minds what they're going to do anyway, along party lines? They don't give a shit about party people, about me, you, the general public. They do it along party lines, and we stand for this shit. And we continue to stand for this shit, but the problem is we're not standing for it anymore. Don't you realise that? The first step along this recourse is we stop voting. Until either one or two things, we find someone decent to vote for, who stands up for what we believe in, or two, we take affirmative action to take the country back from them. I'm kind of hoping we go for the first one, because the second one ends in a lot of tears. But who's, where is that person in Australian society who's going to say to people, enough is enough? You have to start listening to the majority. And the majority is saying enough to bullshit immigration, enough to child sickness, i.e. pedos, etc., enough to criminality, enough of the party politics, where people are divided between two different lines. It's just crap, absolute crap. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I'm going to go to the bottom here, and I'm going to read you this. This sums up exactly how these people see us. The greatest threat of the far right, however, is their ultimate aim is the normalisation of the political discourse and rhetoric they employ into the political mainstream. Now listen to this. This is from Dr. Joshua Roos, who's director of the Institute for Religion, Politics and Society at Australian Catholic University. Groups such as the Proud Boys and English Defence League have a clear paramilitary vision for their organisation, seeking to be accepted by the mainstream political light, thereby legitimising their violence. Most recently, McGuinness begged the Republican mainstream political right to let us scum in. Now, listen to this. This is chillingly reminiscent of the National Socialist brown shirts and Italian fascist black shirts, both of which developed from outlaws to an official arm of law enforcement. Masculinity is central to the sense of dispowerment driving populism. Any attempt to address the emergence of the new far right must look to the deeper seated alienation, anxiety and anger motivating many men towards hate and violence. Well, I just told you, and you just aren't listening. It's as simple as that. You've gotten to the point where my voice does not matter. And now you don't like the ramifications of the fact that I've told you and I've told you and I've told you that you're not listening to me. And now my bite is making you scared. My bark and my bite is making you scared. That's the problem. And unfortunately, you've left it go too far from all those times when you said, you know, you white blokes, you're all shit. You know, you're all rapists. You're all, you know, generally making us feel like crap. Well, we're not putting up with it anymore. Simple as that. And it's simple things like this, folks, of reading the verse of the day, etc., that is driving them crazy. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Okay, and as always, folks, we'll finish off with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, another revolutionary act, by the way. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I've said enough. Prep out. God bless.